Hey there, beautiful people. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode, which is all about composting. Now, composting is something that is amazing for the environment because instead of throwing away your food scraps that end up in a landfill and release methane and greenhouse gases, composting doesn't do that. So when you compost, that food breaks down and actually provides beneficial nutrients to the soil and Mama Earth. It's actually good for the planet and it's amazing. And I wanted to share with you all 3 different ways that you can compost. Now, I've lived in San Diego, Orange County, and now San Francisco. And I thought it was really interesting how when I lived in different areas, I had different composting methods. And I wanted to share with you all different composting methods and figure out what works best for you, for your lifestyle, and what your community and area has to offer. So let's get to 3 different ways that you can compost. Way that you can compost is what I am currently doing in San Francisco, which is curbside composting. Now, not every city or area offers curbside composting. I know like San Francisco does, Portland, Oregon, some places in Colorado, I think somewhere in Washington does as well. So this is definitely something that is incredibly dependent on where you live and if your city offers curbside composting. Now, if it does, you can get a little compost bin, or you can use something you already have, like a big jar or a Tupperware or container or whatever you want, or you can get a compost bin. I'll link this one below. I love it, it's so cute. And with curbside composting, I literally save all my food scraps and compostables in this, and I literally walk downstairs to the bottom of my building and put it in a big composting bin, and the city does the rest. So if your city offers curbside composting, definitely you should do it. It's literally the easiest way to compost. So curbside composting, if that's available to you, definitely do it. Now, not every city has curbside composting. So if that is not something that you can do, the second thing you can look into is a community composting garden. So you can literally look up community composting near me and see if your city or somewhere close by offers a community garden where you can bring your food scraps to, and they do all the rest of the composting. So they use your food scraps, they compost it, and they use that fertilizer for the garden, which is amazing. I didn't even know that was a thing when my friends told me about it. So that's another really great option. If you don't have curbside composting, you can still save your food scraps in a bin and take it to a community garden where it can be composted. Now, both of those are very dependent on where you live. So if those are not available, if there's nothing near you, you can consider using a worm bin to compost your food. So the last video that I made was with my friend Chrissy, who is a worm bin guru, and we walked you guys through how to make your own DIY worm bin, how to care for them. There's a ton of really good information from Chrissy in that video, so I'll definitely link that. If you are interested, definitely watch that video. Now, I will say that worm bin composting did not work for me. And if you watched the other video about the worm bin composting, I said I would do a part 2 to update you on my journey. So spoiler, I'm no longer doing that. And I literally filmed that video 2 years ago, and I did find some footage that I was gonna use for the follow-up video. So let's just cut right to it. You'll see my face says it all. Okay, this is worm check-in 1. It's almost been a week since I fed my worms, but I got some gloves. The compost bin is looking full, and then it's time to feed the worms. Here we go. Okay, they're looking good. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it with one hand. Probably gonna have to freeze some of this, so I'm just gonna, oh my god, this is so scary. Oh my god, why am I so weird about this? Ew. Okay. Okay, so we're just gonna put a banana in there. little bit out of my comfort zone if you couldn't tell. I love nature and everything, but I've always been like really freaked out by worms for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, they seem really nice and I appreciate the work that they do. This is just like, this is hard for me, what we're doing. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little bit more in. I think you can overfeed them, so I'm just gonna put like a little bit more in. Cucumbers, it's the summer, you know, a little refreshing. A couple more strawberry leaves in there, just because they deserve that. Okay. I think that's good. Well, the compost bin is still pretty full, so I'm probably gonna go ahead and freeze some of that so it doesn't smell weird, and then feed the worms. That wasn't so bad. Okay, stay tuned for the next time worm binning happens. This is big. This is big. Thank you for following along on this journey with me. That is all. Stay tuned. So as you can see, I did not love worm bin composting. To be completely honest, worms kind of freak me out a little bit. I'm gonna do it because I really wanted to give it a try. But also at that time, I think I was vegan, and so I had a ton of fruits and vegetable scraps, like to the point where I would fill up my bin and put it in the worm bin, but like I couldn't put all of it in the bin. I had to start freezing some of the food scraps, and it just didn't work for me. Another thing to consider is that when you do worm bin composting, they create amazing fertilizer for your garden, or you can use it in your houseplants. I didn't have a garden at that time to use the fertilizer for, which is not a complete excuse because Chrissy will give her fertilizer to her friends. So that's just something to consider. Do you have a garden? Do you have houseplants? Do you have someone you can give that fertilizer to really make worm bin composting worthwhile? If you're interested in that, check out the DIY worm bin making and care tip video that I made previously. So just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean it doesn't have to work for you. So that's what this video is about, finding out what works for you and your lifestyle. There's something for everyone. So now that I said that, if you're like, okay, my city doesn't have curbside composting, there's not a community garden nearby, girl, I'm not down for the worms. That's totally cool, I hear you. So when I moved back to Orange County, I actually didn't do any composting at all. And instead, I really focused on reducing my food waste. So to me, you know, composting is all about making sure you're diverting your food from the landfill, not producing greenhouse gases, and instead providing great nutrients to the soil. There's even more benefits to composting, but that's the gist of it. And to me, reducing food waste is still something amazing that you can do to divert your food from ending up in the landfill. So if you don't have any of this composting, you're not down for worms, try to consider figuring out different ways to reduce your food waste. Now I can make a whole video all about food waste and how to reduce it, but in this video I'm only gonna share 3 of my favorite tips. The first tip I have is to plan out your meals. So I like to make a list. I like to try to meal plan what ingredients I need for what, just to really make sure I'm buying exactly what I need so I don't end up with a bunch of things that I don't end up eating and they go bad and I end up throwing them away. Planning out your food and shopping lists in advance is a great way to reduce food waste. Now, we are perfectly imperfect humans, and speaking for myself, sometimes I go to the store and I see, oh, that's a great deal on that. I am starving and everything looks good, so I buy more things than what is on my list. It happens, it totally happens. So my second tip is, if you have some food that you're like, okay, I'm not gonna eat this in time or it's about to go bad, freeze it. So I love freezing my berries or different fruits. I love frozen pineapples, so love freezing those. Sometimes if I buy too much spinach can go bad kind of quick sometimes, I don't know. But if I buy too much spinach and I know I can't eat it all, I'll freeze it and put it in smoothies and things like that. So that is another way to reduce your food waste. Now, the third way that I haven't done it yet, but I'm saving my scraps in the freezer right now to do this, is saving some of your veggie scraps and making a veggie broth, which is so cool. Here, I'm gonna show you. So these are the veggie scraps that I'm saving, and I'm gonna use them to make a veggie broth. which is pretty cool. I've seen a lot of people do it, so I really wanted to try it out, and I'm really excited to do that. So those are how I reduce my food waste, really just planning ahead, freezing it, and trying to make something else out of it. So I have a ton of food waste tips, but those are my favorite. So I hope those food waste tips were helpful and that this video was helpful overall as we work to find what composting works best for you. Just to summarize, check to see what composting that your city has to offer, whether that's curbside composting or a local community garden that you could bring your scraps to. And if those aren't available, definitely consider using a worm bin, which is apartment friendly. Make sure you watch that video that I posted below to get more details and see if that's something that's gonna work for you and your lifestyle. Now, if there isn't any composting in your community and you're not into worms, don't worry, just work on reducing your food waste. That's another amazing thing that you can do to help our environment. And as always, your small changes really do make a difference. Just because you can't compost doesn't mean that you can't make a difference by reducing your food waste. So I hope this video was helpful. Please comment below which way you compost, which way you want to compost. And if you ever have any questions, comment below, message me on Instagram. I love helping in any way that I can to help you on your sustainability journey. So always feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And I can't wait to see you all soon and share more tips on how to make your life a little bit more sustainable, one step at a time. Thanks for watching and see you soon.